It's a stormy night here on the homestead. We've had 2 days of bad weather, tornado watches, tornado warnings, and bad storms. The whole works. We've had it. There's nothing on TV that I care to watch tonight. You know, when I was a kid or a teenager, we didn't get a TV till I was 10 years old. We listened to the radio before that. We had 2 channels on our TV, and it seemed like we got more entertainment with those 2 channels than you get with 100 channels these days. Just something else. Well, I'm going to do another knife review. Well, not a review per se, but a show and tell for y'all. These are some of my favorite knives. Some of them have a lot of sentimental value to me. Some I just like. I've got them separated into 2 categories. The first category is the straight blade knives. The second category is the folding knives, or we call them pocket knives. Well, let's get started. Let's start with the straight blades first. This little knife here is a Gerber knife. I bought it at Atwood's Farm Supply store. It's a good little well-constructed knife. It's a full tang knife, and it's fairly thick on the back there. And it holds an edge fairly well once you get one on it. Of course, it's made in China, like everything else nowadays. I think I bought this knife about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. The next one I got at Walmart. It's a mossy oak knife. I think it was part of a set. I think it had 2 knives come with it, but I gave one of them away. It's got this, I forget what you call it, that Japanese style type point on it. But it's a good little knife, and I carried this knife for a while around the place here. It holds an edge really good. This little knife here, this knife set here is a Grizz pack, and my son gave this to me for Christmas one year. And it's got, this knife is made in Japan, and it's got your processing, well, I don't know if it's processing or not, but it's got your gut hook on it. It's real good for skinning. I skin a lot of deer with this knife. And it's also got this bone saw. It comes in there, and this holster it comes in, everything locks in tight. Nothing comes out. I like that knife. It holds an edge good and does a real good job. This knife here is an old timer that I bought 2 or 3 years ago out at, I think I bought it out at Atwood's also. It's, of course, it's made in China, but it's a well-constructed knife. Look how thick the back spine is there. You could actually baton wood with that knife, and I don't think you'd hurt a thing. And it's got some fairly good steel in it. I finally got the old factory edge off of it using this oil stone, and I put a nice edge on it. It's sharp. It'll cut. It's also a full tang knife, see, and goes all the way around. It's all a solid piece. That's always a plus. And yeah, I'm sure these are just plastic handles, but you know, they've done a lot of good things with polymer and plastic here in the last few years. That stuff's pretty sturdy. It's more dependable than you think. This knife here I bought, I don't know, probably before I bought these. It's a buck knife, made in the USA. It's a nice little knife. Kind of like a survivor's knife. And it's also full tang, and it's got nice rosewood handles on it. I just like the way it grips with that blade that kind of tilts down like that. I just cut my thumb with it too. Anyway, that's a good buck knife right there. Here's another buck knife that was a gift that was given. Well, this knife, let me tell you, this knife belongs to my oldest son now. I gave it to him some time ago, but it was left here, and I'm going to use it in the review and tell you a little story about it. This knife was bought in 1976 by a fellow that I worked for, and he ran a meat department, and I worked in the meat department, and we were real good friends. We hunted and fished together every chance we got. And he would get a commission check quarterly, every 3 months. He'd get a commission check, and he'd always buy me something. And he bought me this knife, and I held on to it all them years. You can see the scabbard on it the sheath used to have a folding flap that came down, but it's all rotted out now. It's in bad shape, actually. I don't know where you could get another sheath like this. They don't make them like this anymore, I don't think. But it locks in tight. And it's a good little old knife. Got good metal in it. Those buck knives are good knives once you get them sharp. Hard to sharpen, but once you get them sharp, they do a good job. Now these are my old timers. These are my folding knives I'm going to do now. These are old timers. I bought this knife back in the 70s, I believe. Of course, I broke the tip out of it, probably using it for a screwdriver, working on a car or something. These here are old enough to where they were made in the USA, because they used to make these before they started making everything in China. They made these old timers in the USA, and they were actually made better, out of better metal, I think. This three-bladed folder here was given to me as a Christmas gift. And I carried it in my tackle box for years, my fishing tackle box. And it's got the tip broke off of it too. It's a good knife. Holds an edge good. This knife here was given to me as a Christmas present. It's a little old timer. This is the kind of knife that the old fellas used to carry when I was a kid, and they'd take it out of their pocket and they'd take their plug of tobacco and they'd cut them the plug of tobacco off and go to chewing on it. All the old men carried these little knives. Pen knives, I think you call them. They were all gifted to me. This knife here I got from my father-in-law. He's passed on now. I don't know where he got the thing, but it's actually made in Japan. But it was probably made back in the day when stuff from Japan was considered cheap. But this one has got good metal in it, and it holds an edge really good. I consider it a good knife, and he gave it to me, so it's got sentimental value. These two here are my case knives. This knife here I got from my father-in-law, the same fellow that had that. He had a bunch of knives, and when he passed on, all the boys got some knives. This is a case double X right here. I think they call this one the Stockman. I skin a lot of deer with this knife. This little blade right here is just perfect for skinning deer. You can like dress them right on down and not puncture that gut sac. That's a good knife. That's my everyday carry, by the way. This one here, my everyday carry. This knife here was given to me by my kids for Father's Day one year. It's a Case XX also. It's what they call the trapper model. It's got your skinning blade and then your point blade. These Case knives are both made out of carbon steel, and I like that carbon steel. They sharpen good, and they hold an edge a long time. I processed a lot of deer with this too. Those two have, some of them, like I said, some of them have great sentimental value. I bought this. These are little Gerber folding knives. This is what they call a Gerber Easy Out. I bought this knife. Can't remember where, but I bought it. It's one of them flick out knives. Everybody wants the flick out knives nowadays. Yeah, it's called a Gerber Easy Out, made in the USA. Portland, Oregon, I think is where they used to make the Gerbers. It's a good knife, got good metal, hard to sharpen, I will say that about it. Now this knife here's a Gerber also. I don't remember what it's got I think they call it the Gator or something like that. But my son gave this to me for my birthday or Father's Day. My oldest son gave it to me. It's got your partially serrated blade and then your regular edge. It's a good knife. Made in Portland, Oregon, USA. Yeah. It's got a lot of sentimental value too, because my kids give it. My kids give me some of these knives, and some other people too. Some people that aren't here with us anymore. But yeah, I just thought I would show you guys some of my favorite knives and take you along for the journey on that, and see what you think about it. I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all stay tuned for the next video. Bye.